This information, Space God wants, which is the here, going to the international news. The board can receive that. The board facing the second come of Christ, which is the almost bring evidence to words by YouTube, which is the by earthquakes actually, and TUSNAMI, bring evidence of the who casting this crime behind the second come of Christ, behind my future, which is the I raising second come of Christ. According to information, ladies and gentlemen, Canada did cast interruption and crime behind the second come of Christ mission, which is I be called by God to raising second come of Christ before happening, and Canada from their Canadian Security Service and their RCMP casting this crime behind my future by their security border or their police criminal and their whoever was behind that. By this multicultural, few multicultural inside this building, their Canadian Security Service building, from Arab terrorists, they give job in the country, in Ottawa building, Canadian Security to Toronto, Ontario, to Iran here, or to the India culture. And Space God want this information going to the world news, received that Canada did cause crime behind the second come of Christ mission, which is I've been called to raise second come of Christ before happening, and the government of Canada, but their agenda casting this affect interruption behind my future, behind the, not my future, behind the, this man future. The casting affect and interruption by the Canadian Security Service and RCMP. This interruption and crime they did cause behind my mission from God, which is I've been called to raise the second come of Christ before happening. I bring it to your subject, gentlemen, what is coming to happening in 2023, and not many people know that. Number one, God give warning to you, deadly warning, US government, to know that you are on the deadly warning today from March 18, to know that you be on the serious for this crime. You connected Canada and law in Canada to carry on. And subject, I bring it to you, gentlemen, to know that what is coming by space, according to the information I have, two things will happen in, according to this man here. Two things will happen in Canada very, very soon in 2023, because God is not allowing government of Canada walk one step forward before they bring their two department, Canadian Security Service and RCMP, on the international courts. World must receive that these two departments did cause crime behind the future of the God mission, which is I did raise, future of mission of God's. They causing in their country this crime, which is God will, this information going to the news, many people receive that already. Government of Canada, they lost their capital city parliament building. I bring to you evidence.
But on the night of February 3rd, disaster struck where none had expected. At Parliament, the very center of Canadian democracy. February 3rd. On the floor of the House of Commons, MPs were busy debating. The building was full of staff, guests, and journalists. Towards 9 p.m., an MP named... As he read, Glass felt a sudden rush of hot air. He turned and saw that a small pile of newspapers had caught fire on the desk behind him. Glass called out to the police constable on duty, who ran to put it out with catastrophic results. Scraps of burning paper were blown. The whole room was on fire.
Finally, gentlemen, this happening in the Canada by Angel of the God. I understand they did the agenda. They're destroying government of Canada city, which is here, one times. And I bring to you evidence, ladies and gentlemen, of this attack coming. What is coming to happen? According to the information I have by this, by God here, two things God released into the government of Canada. This one here, in their capital city, Ottawa.
8.9 magnitude. Now we know that's a big number. 8.9 magnitude. Now we know that's a big number. It was the 5th largest earthquake in history. But you can only really understand the enormity when you see these pictures. An earthquake so strong it literally shifted the Earth's axis by about 25 centimeters. It all started at the epicenter near Sendai, 230 miles northeast of Tokyo. Shock waves that gave birth to a massive tsunami that started 35 minutes later, Saigai, the Japanese word for disaster.
This happening, gentlemen, this person here, he released in this to the government of Canada in their parliament building by this angel coming to happening, which is the Archangel Michael behind that, or this happening again in 2023. This is the parliament of the Canada, their capital city, which is a power in their capital city, Ottawa, which is God command to the angel to prepare to bring in government of Canada one more times to their parliament building with this truth for the crime of the casting behind the Ghasem Ahmadi, which is I am, by their criminal department, Canadian Security Service, or you can say Muslim terrorists, they give job to their country behind my future, or Iranian or India, or their RCMP criminal department behind my future, casting negative and affect my mission, which is not my mission, it's God's mission, second come of Christ. So, ladies and gentlemen, I bring this information in the world news, must receive that, and world will receive that, because what is coming to Canada very soon, nobody will, if all the world will receive that, what's going to happen in Canada, because those angels are ready preparing God's agenda to bring into the government of Canada for what they did cause to completely destroying their parliament building on the criminal investigation on the terrorist movement in Canada, or India movement, or Iranian movement in Canada, behind the God plan, behind the God mission, which is the casting the me basically to not raising God mission, which is not going to happen. I bring it to you evidence, gentlemen, what is coming to happen here, which is this happening in Canada already, what is coming to happening, which is I did told to your side 2023 space raising for major Sodom and Gomorrah to government of Canada to bring these two buildings, to bring it their parliament building, and this building under my investigation, under God investigation, not only my investigation, under angel of the God investigation to their country for lawsuit against their country for crime against the second come of Christ they did by their Canadian Security Service and their RCMP behind me, they caused in this crime, which is I must bring evidence in the world news, world will receive in the news why angel of the God destroyed in government of Canada again their parliament building, which is coming by my investigation, which is God wants I send in this information in the international news, world receive that Canada coming on the world breaking news, which is this happened in 1900 and again happened in 1916, the second time I believe. So this information coming to the world breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, to many people receive that this information. Why?
And by midnight that night, the tower had collapsed, the roof had collapsed, 7 people were killed, and it was quite a tragedy.
Canada was at war at the time, and the enemy was quickly suspected.
And this information coming on the international news, ladies and gentlemen, to world receive that the government of Canada has been found guilty for crime against my future, against the second come of Christ's future. Government of Canada did cause crime, and United States is in the hell from CIA, FBI, DIA, by TNT gathering, raising Yellowstone to the United States. If United States not attacking Canada or freezing Canada, by European NATO government, by Russia, to freezing and attacking government of Canada, completely freezing their country, because if they don't, this man here, I bring it to you evidence, this man, he bring third war in 2023 to bring government of Canada, this Canadian Security Service and RCMP on the international courts. All the word must receive, they come in the international court to investigation to these two departments for $700 trillion God want from government of Canada before God bring in the country at this 2023 Sudan and Gumaro sun bring into Canada. I'm talking about sun in the space. I'm talking about planet sun. Bring Sudan and Gumaro to government of Canada to bring in their country on the world breaking news, receive that they did crime and they pay big consequences in, because this consequence in coming by sun to the Canada in 2023. And this person, he want you believe, you understand, United States, you be on the hill, Yellowstone, if you don't bring in government of Canada on the Ghasem Yarahmadi investigation, because Ghasem Yarahmadi been called to raise the Qarais, second come of Qarais in the world received that, but Canada, they did cause crime behind the affecting behind this mission by their Canadian Security Service and RCMP by India culture, Arab Muslim terrorists in the country in Canadian Security Service and Iran here. So this information coming on the world breaking news, you be surprised what is space bringing to the government of Canada Parliament. As well, I did told this angel be released to the government of Canada for this.
That tsunami reached 23 feet high.
It all started at the epicenter, but you can only really understand 8.9 magnitude. Now we 8.9 magnitude. Now we know that's a big number. It was the 5th largest earthquake in history. It gave birth to a massive tsunami that started 35 minutes later. Saigai, the Japanese word for disaster.
This person here, he want all the world receive that, ladies and gentlemen. This country, Canada, did cause crime behind the second come of Qarais, which is I am raising second come of Qarais before happening, and God want to bring the country on the international courts news by 7 to tsunami in 2023 to bring these two departments, the Canadian Security Service, RCMP on the lawsuit for 700,000 trillion God charging government of Canada for this crime. They did cause behind my information, which is God acting in the space from 2023. He coming by angel to release the angel to bring in the government of Canada under this investigation. The parliament building by this angel, and this is going two things God released in this earthquake 8.9 8.7 to the parliament building, who got raising this explosion 2023 to bring in government of Canada on the breaking world news to investigation to these two culture, these few culture inside this building. And this information you be responsible U.S. Government before got released in Yellowstone to your CIA, FBI, DIA, US Navy, you are responsible to bring in government of Canada under my investigation according to this man. If you don't do that, you're facing your end, United States government. European be attacked, United States you be attacked, and not to be destroyed. If you don't bring before God attacking Canada, you bring in their country under my investigation, they pay for $700 billion for this crime they did cause. Behind my future, I get moving on for second come of Qarais. Before world received that, I send the message information by news, second come of Qarais on the way coming. So you can judge, ladies and gentlemen, if country do and did crime behind the second Christ, what is going that country face? You judge, according to this man, he say.